Hi, this is George Sandman. I'm the founder and CEO of Growth Drive. Growth Drive is the number one best-selling business advising platform, and this is our podcast, The Business Advisor Hot Seat. Now, in the hot seat, you're going to hear from industry leaders, thought leaders, your colleagues who are going to share tips, techniques, war stories about building a thriving advisory business based on delivering client wins. We're going to get into it. We'll get into it about the Growth Drive methodology, the Clarity software, what we see out in the world, so much more than just the system. And I'm also the author of The Growth Driving Advisor, which is based on over a decade of being an advisor to advisor, working with you and your colleagues, helping them build their practices, helping them through client engagements, and it's really proven strategies for leading businesses from stuck to best in class. Check it out. So strap in. We're going to light this up. Here we go. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is George Sandman, and we're back in the Business Advisor Hot Seat. And this week, we have my good friend, Tim Rhode, Baltimore, Maryland, and Big Bad and Nationwide. And Tim, I'm excited to have you. Thank you. I'm going to give you a brief intro, and then I'll toss it over to you if that's okay. So Tim, you and I have known each other for several years. You're an author. You have Changing Lanes for Business, which we've just added to the C3D certification in the 3 Dimensions of Business Growth course. A designation which you hold. So thank you. Your Changing Lanes for Business is great. Super intuitive way to understand change. And you were also elected Growth Driver of the Year for 2025. And that's because you're fantastic. You lean in, you help, you contribute. And so congratulations again. We announced that at our summit. And you will be announcing the next Growth Driver of the Year at our summit in October 5th, 6th, and 7th here in Charleston. So with that big preamble, I'll toss it over to you. Welcome, Tim. If you'd like to introduce yourself, do a better job than me of describing who you are and why clients hire you. Thanks.
Well, thank you, George. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm not sure I can do much better than that. I appreciate all the kind words. I got to say that the Growth Driver of the Year thing was a complete shock. Like, I was sitting there, I couldn't wait to see what it was because I knew the 5 or 6 people that I thought were the best options out there. So all I can say is that somebody must have had a short ballot. I'm not really sure, but I appreciate the vote of confidence and I don't take it lightly. It's actually displayed here behind me,
Awesome.
in plain view, where all the 3 people a year that come through my office can see it. So yeah, Baltimore, Maryland. I've been a business owner and manager and leader for years, a business advisor since the mid 90s, while we were running our own businesses. And I really have spent the last 40 years helping to make businesses better, whether they were mine or other people's, working on the different challenges that they had, helping them either arrive at solutions, change their mindset, implement systems, whatever it took to make the business run better. When I met you, and I think our books were publishing like the same week. So
They were. Yeah.
we were trading experiences is probably the most positive way to put it about getting a book to market. I sat down and I read through it, and it was a game changer for me. So reading the
Thank you.
Growth Driven Advisor, it gave me a completely different perspective about the end game, about what all the work that I'd been doing all these decades could and should add up to, right? An immortal business, a business that has predictable profits and growth, that has predictable transferable value. All of those things, to me, just suddenly it was
Thank you.
it was an awakening, right? So as I began to participate in the community and the calls and things, to me it became obvious that I really should do the C3D course and to understand the system fully and to be able to take this responsibly to my clients, current and future clients. In that process, I came to the conclusion that I wanted to build a business again. So we had run a successful business for more than 20 years. I exited in 2015, and I was coming up on 10 years of being a solopreneur with my business advisory practice. And I realized that I not only go farther with a team, but I go faster with a team. to conflict with the old adage. So I decided to create an enterprise, a business that we came to call Clear Growth Advisors,
Yep.
building off of clarity. It's actually the first chapter in my book. It leads with, how do you lead successful change? Well, it starts with clarity. Coincidentally, we came across the same thing with Growth Drive, where the assessment is clarity, and so that's the name of the firm. So I've joined with a partner, Tony DeKemper, who's also a member of the community,
Yeah,
and
terrific guy.
we've
Yeah,
launched Clear Growth Advisors, and we're going forward with that.
it's fantastic, and congratulations.
Thank
It's
you.
fun to watch you guys grow.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
And I'm looking forward to coming up. In fact, I'm coming up to help you. You've invited me up. You are having a CEO invitational workshop, and uh, and that's going to be fun. That's here in just a few weeks. I was just looking at plane tickets, as you know, and that's going to be it's going to be terrific. I'm looking forward to seeing you and Tony do your magic, and to helping you guys educate these CEOs and COIs, centers of influence, fellow advisors, um, about strategic capacity and helping move businesses forward.
I need to credit the C3D course for this revelation, or this thing that we're about to do. So it doesn't just cover how to help people make their businesses better. It also covers with how to build your practice. And one of the things that was repeated in there often was the notion of a marketing event, what the community calls a marketing event. A marketing event is where you work with maybe you align yourself with some business professional service companies that have other business owners as clients, or you pull together prospects yourself. You get them into a room and you lead them through the clarity exercise and help them see their strategic capacity, understand their range of values and their value gap, and then see where things go from there. The biggest challenge in launching any business, as anybody that's listening to this probably already knows, is coming out of obscurity.
Yes.
So I'm known in the area by, a number of people in the market for having run a successful market leading business for years. They don't all know that I have a business advisory practice. They certainly don't know anything about Clear Growth Advisors, and they know nothing about Growth Drive or our ability to help them double or triple the value of their business over the next several years. So to overcome that obscurity, we've got to find ways to become known. With borrowing on Mike Garrison's approach with the Can I Borrow Your Car and using trusted referrals, we've been working with people who we know that would refer us or that are curious about what we're doing to help fill this room. Half of the group is going to be COIs,
Awesome.
not prospective clients. Well, some of them might be, but primarily like half of them COIs, so that once they see what we do, they can spread the word and maybe schedule more marketing events for us. So we really hope that this event is going to be like kicking over the first domino, where we become quickly, ideally oversubscribed, and are looking for other growth drivers that we can align with to help grow the practice. I couldn't think of a better way to do that. I feel like we could do that ourselves, but I couldn't think of a better way to do that than to bring you up and have you be the pace setter,
Thank you.
and to set the pace and set an example that Tony and I can follow going forward. So that's what we're doing here in a few weeks.
Awesome, man. And I'm excited. These are, as workshops are, right? Workshops are always better than chalk and talks, at least in my mind. And as these workshops, I'm excited. You are going to do a lot of good by gathering people in a room, getting them together. And it's not herd mentality. It's people get more into classroom mode. And even when we do these, when these are put on, as long as it's a curated group of attendees, meaning no direct competitors, similar market demographics that don't have to that they're facing the same pressure, so that the conversation can be productive. And your COIs are super fortunate to have you. And you and I have talked back and forth about the integrated strategic capacity doctrine. And for those of you who have not had a chance to read about it, learn about it, it's in the community. You can probably Google or ask Perplexity about the integrated strategic capacity doctrine. And what I love what you're doing is you are integrating, right? You are integrating in a room. Let's just focus on the COIs. The integrated doctrine holds that we need to have transparency and clarity of purpose amongst the CEO, their senior leadership team. So those are our W-2s, and the 1099s, you and your colleagues. And it needs to be done. Collaboration, I think, doesn't quite describe enough what an integrated focus looks like. So if we have the CEO, the SLT, you, the people with whom you work, wealth advisors, fractional CFOs, investment bankers, et cetera, and then working all on the same perspective with, with software and data and AI, that's all focused on increasing strategic capacity. That integrated approach, which is what you are about to sow the seeds for in this event, that integrated approach is proven to outperform. And you're setting yourself. I'm excited, as you can tell. Sorry, I'm hogging the mic, but I'm super excited for what you're doing, and it will be successful. I guarantee.
I love the work you've been doing with the doctrine. I mean,
Thank you.
It not only reinforces how much you care, but it really prioritizes what matters most. I mean, this is a mission and principled, mission driven and principled community.
Yes.
And the more you can clarify that, the more likely we are to remain transformational and not become transactional. Like, everybody wants to do business, but
Yes.
but not if we can't reliably develop and maintain trust with our colleagues, the others in the industry, the other advisors, the clients' teams, right? That would be too high of a price to pay. And so I think that leading with that makes tremendous sense.
Yeah. Thank you. And you're part of it. I mean, you are emblematic, Tim, of the experienced senior level professionals who are attracted to the community, who are joining and participating in the community. I don't think we have many people under the age of 50, and that's not because we're a bunch of. I mean, we are a bunch of old hands, but that's because we have, you and your colleagues have the level of experience and the wisdom. Right, wisdom is important to work with each other and to realize that by working together. Actually, it's great, better for you, better for your COIs, and most importantly, better for your clients, right? So heck yes.
Yeah,
Heck yes.
No question.
Can I ask you a question? What?
Sure.
So we've talked about. I'd love to drill into. You and I have been talking about your business card is here on my desk. We've been talking about Clear Growth Advisors since before it became a thing. Maybe I'll start with, who's your ideal? Can you describe so the audience understands your ideal client?
You bet. Our ideal client has I think several noteworthy traits. So we've decided that we want to deal with businesses that are ideally 10 million and up in gross revenue.
Right.
And it's not that there isn't plenty of demand below that, and we're flexible with that. I was on a call yesterday with a COI who deals with mostly businesses that are between 1 million and 10 million, and we're like, 10 million and up. We know that the stakes are high enough that we can make a big difference. Two, they likely have a leadership team by that point in time. We're not trying to just bring more productivity or direction change out of a sole proprietor
100%,
or a visionary and an implementer. And they also tend to have the cash flow that it takes to afford to make the changes that we will need them to make, right? Which could include our fees. So for those reasons, we've selected that audience. So 10 million and up, would be businesses that have more or less industry agnostic. There isn't really a boundary on the growth drive process. I think you could apply it to just about any industry. The dysfunction that we're helping to rectify in these companies is universal.
Yes.
Whether you're helping them with their leadership team or their people or their systems or their financial management, whatever the case might be. So we're looking for companies that are, either struggling or frustrated with the dysfunction, something their growth is plateaued. like a real ideal client would be somebody that knew that they wanted to exit in, say, 3 to 5 years, and they know that on their current path, they're not likely to get there. Uh, there are more and more people coming into the space, whether they're coming in from EPI or BEI or exit planning exchange. We're finding that many of those players don't do what I call the early innings work.
Yes.
They're more like closing pitchers. They're You would want to work with them. You would want them on your team, but they're there to finish the ninth inning. And
Yeah. Mayday Malone. Yeah.
the way I've been describing what we do is like we'll help you from where you are now all the way through the middle relievers and get you to the ninth inning with a big lead, right? So, ideally we've got maybe a 2-year runway to help them with that.
Sure.
We're finding that an awful lot of people want to stay in. They just want the business to be more profitable and be easier to run. So that's a dog whistle too for that group. When we talk with them about whether the business owns them or they own the business, can they find more freedom and more wealth, which is what we primarily go to serve. So I don't know whether I did a very concise job of describing it, but it's businesses that are north of 10, like 10 to 100 million is what we have on our sheet. We list the common challenges that business owners are dealing with, whether they've got, they're struggling with a leadership team that's underproductive, or they're missing their goals, or they just aren't, their growth isn't there. They don't have the margins that they need, what have you. But the second group of ideal clients for us are our COIs, and we list them. We list
Yes.
the ones that we're talking. So we're just as happy. Like, to be honest with you, my preferred client would be somebody who's running a family office or a CPA firm or a wealth advisory firm who has an entire book of business that once we become a trusted advisor, we show them or demonstrate that we can increase the value of their best clients.
This is a great point.
To feed us
Yeah,
people.
man. That's a great point, Tim. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
Go ahead.
we call them our super who's, right? So ideal clients all day long would love to be working with them. Our super who's are the people who have dozens of those clients already.
Well, because you're effectively, what you're talking about is effectively expanding. Let's take a wealth advisor. Fastest way to grow a wealth advisory right now is to attract business owning clients. That is either a retention and expansion or a disruption play, right? So how do we help wealth advisors? And I think this is what you're hitting on, and correct me if I'm wrong. You help wealth advisors expand their relevance and impact with their business owning clients' largest asset, which is their business, right? That's
Absolutely.
80%. That gets trotted out all the time, right? But it is true. It is 80-90% of their net worth. You want to dive into that?
Sure. I mean, you're really hitting on a key point right now, because the wealth advisors have business owners. I haven't talked to one yet who had fewer than 60 or 70% of their best clients were business owners.
Business owners, sure.
The wealth advisor tends to deal with their publicly traded assets. And while they realize that the business is the owner's biggest asset, they are ill prepared, ill equipped, if equipped at all, to help influence that.
Sure.
So by making ourselves available to the wealth advisors to predictably improve the performance of their business owner client's biggest asset, we become really valuable to that wealth advisory firm. So to the point where they can say, look, we've got somebody that you should talk with, or these people support our business owner clients. And now the wealth advisor can, maybe for the first time with some measure of confidence, talk to their business owner clients about having a tangible way to make that improvement. I had 2 calls last week with 2 different wealth advisors. One is a longtime SEPA and also has a CVGA, right?
Okay.
So he knows what to do. He just doesn't have the time or the experience to do that confidently and still run his wealth advisory firm. Right? I mean, it's not a huge firm, but so he sees the value in it.
Sure.
He just doesn't have the capability himself, or even with his team right now, to actually run those plays. So we're talking about being a plug-in for them, whether we become a trusted advisor that they recommend, or we actually white label our services and become part of their menu of services that they can offer.
Yeah,
And
heck yes.
the other company was the same thing, but with a smaller batch of companies. And when we offered that to them and said, look, it doesn't matter. We don't have to be in there as clear growth advisors. We're happy to deliver this on your behalf. We do a revenue sharing or something if it, depending on what they want to do. Um, that they were very interested.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do see it break out that way. Some wealth advisors under an OBA or in an RIA. I'm just going to throw an alphabet soup out there. Outside business activity. Um, the they either want it white label, absolutely want it white labeled, and it. I'd have to go and look at the math. I've pulled the data on this, or they absolutely want it branded something else. So, for example, when they use Clarity, they want it to say Clarity at the top, not RIA. So that's super interesting, and selfishly, I love it because you're helping us pursue our vision of helping $1 trillion of private businesses increase strategic capacity in the three dimensions of business growth. And I agree with you. Wealth advisors have the Rolodex, right? Have the Rolodex. And as one business owner said, who better than you, Madam Wealth Advisor, to help me with the value of my largest asset? Now, it's funny. I have two friends. One guy that I've known since we were in college together. We're fraternity brothers. And actually, I'll use his description as so. You mentioned that they don't want to lift. They don't want to lift the hood, get out the wrenches, and start turning. They want to diagnose the car, help people drive the car, but they are not going to work on the car. They're not going to do strategic analysis, strategic planning, lead execution. But they need those things to happen. And as my buddy said. He said, whoa, 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 whoa. They had earned their SEPA. That he and his partner flipped a coin. His partner went and got his SEPA. And I asked him about it. He's like, and I was talking about the planning and the execution. He's like, whoa, 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 George. Hey, we want to talk about these issues, but we don't want to do those issues. We're busy. We need people to work with. I'm like, heck yes. People like you, Tim, and Tony, and your growing stable of talent, which is exciting stuff. It's exciting. We're at an inflection point in the market, and it's an exciting time.
It really is, and I mean, I've got to hand it to what you've done with the whole concept. I mean, I was there when you made the shift, when you changed lanes from what you were doing with the previous platform to coming out with your own. I've just watched this. I've watched the whole growth drive community, the whole growth drive framework continue to expand and be enhanced like weekly. It just is moving that quickly. And you've heard me use my analogy that like you started with this flicker and built it into a campfire that's now becoming a bonfire that people are coming to, that people want to stand around it. I see them flocking in from all points of the compass.
Yes.
And it's only making us stronger. Like we have the credibility that the platform provides us, just how, what's the word I'm looking for? Just how universal it is. There really isn't any aspect of running the business that it doesn't touch. It's reinforced by our own acumen. I'm absolutely fearless about our ability to help somebody make their business better in any of the key categories, right? There's no doubt about that. The credibility that the growth drive framework provides for us, and the community that it provides for us. There are things that we can't or aren't best suited to do. I have no doubt that within 30 minutes, I could get a hold of somebody from the community that could provide a credible and trusted solution for any challenge that any business that I'm working with, could provide. So that it provides us a huge sense of pride and confidence that this is the platform we're using.
Thank you. That's very generous. Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you. I'm actually a little embarrassed. I appreciate it. Thank you. You mentioned something earlier that ties into the point you just made. You mentioned Mike in his book, Can I Borrow Your Car? Which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, you should read Can I Borrow Your Car? Mike Garrison. Get it on Amazon. Call me. We'll send you a copy. It's part of the C3D curriculum, but importantly, he focuses like a laser beam on being a safe driver. Right? If I'm going to lend you my car, if I'm going to introduce you to a client, here's how here's how we're going to want to behave, and here's what I expect. And don't forget that it's my darn car. Now, let's leave that philosophical question aside. Something you just touched on is collaboration. Is this rapidly growing? You're right. We are adding people every week, rapidly growing community. By the way, we continue to attract. The numbers are growing. The quality it remains constant. We're tracking people. I am so incredibly grateful. And you guys all read and follow the advisor's pledge, right? We have a 7-step advisory process that recognizes the roles that different professionals will want to play. And we can dive into that. But we have the advisor's pledge, which is, I'm going to communicate with you. I'm going to remember that you introduced me into this opportunity. I'm going to continue to focus on the client's intent. If the client voices any changes, I'm going to share them with you, et cetera. It's all about communication and respect. And I think that's part of the reason that people have the confidence to create these integrated teams that move the client where the client needs to go. Because at the end of the day, we can say that's my client, but that's not how the client views themselves, right? The client doesn't walk through it. The client walks through life saying, I have a business, I need help. Tim is helping me. And it's a first person singular perspective. So,
yeah, we're already collaborating with a number of the growth drivers from the community.
I know.
Peter Skelton up in Rochester is working with us, and we actually have made the advisor's pledge part of our deck. So I sent the deck we were using to Peter because we were getting ready to talk to a prospective client together, and he added the pledge, and we've left it in there, and it's made a difference. Like that's how we close any of our presentations is with that pledge, and we let that just sit up there so that these people see, especially our COIs.
Yes.
Just yesterday, in less than 24 hours ago, and I said, these are your clients. This is our perspective. We treat them with care, and they will always be your clients. You're part of any conversation. So those ethics are things that we think and feel, but if it weren't for the work of you and other members of the community, the faculty who put together the C3D course and things, I don't know that they all would be there at hand, like a tool or an implement that we can use in order to improve our credibility and gain trust in the market.
Yeah. And as touchstones, like, wait a second. I have, this is my touchstone. And this all comes out of you guys, right? I mean, I may write it down, but I'm just the scribe on this. The advisor's pledge comes out of work that we did with the two communities, our community, and this happened to be in the context of the Business Enterprise Institute. And I was leading a workshop there at their exit planning conference a couple of years ago. And we had a room full, actually over capacity, which is always a kick in the pants, talking about the issues you and I are circling here. And I asked for a show of hands, and it was like, and of course, everyone would want to invite in a business advisor at that point, right? And I put my hand up, in this entire room, 2 hands went up. I'm like, whoa. And I actually stopped the workshop for a few minutes. I said, we need to let's workshop this issue. And I had a subsequent reinforcing. You may have been in the room. It was up in Roanoke at one of Mike's workshops. And I asked the same question, room full of wealth advisors. No hands went up. And the reason is trust, lack of trust and lack of clarity, to borrow a term. When you show up, Tim, when someone hires you, and I know, and you know, and that you're going to honor this code, and it's terrifically important. Which is, yeah, I'm super excited, and you're right. It's fun, have the experience of it going from a spark to a bonfire is fun. You've used that description, on an ongoing, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So, okay, ideal clients, and can I drill down a little bit into the work you do with clients? I really admire what you're, you know, I know, like, and trust you, and I really admire the work you're doing. So you, can we zero in on senior leadership teams? That's, you know, that's one of your fortes, and leadership alignment. You want to comment on that?
You, as I've been working on this for my own businesses and others for years. You know, there's always dysfunction
Yeah.
on the senior leadership team, whether it's an incomplete team or people who aren't fully functional who are in the role. They maybe stayed with the company long enough to be in the role. There's a host of reasons, and in a majority of the cases, these people have had no leadership training, and in some cases, not even any management training. It's just all been experience and instinct, and the strong have survived. The lack of alignment between the owner, who in many cases has fickle intent, and if it's articulated at all,
Yeah.
sometimes it's
True. I
oftentimes
don't mean
it
to laugh,
shows,
but
right?
yeah.
So it's kind of a target rich environment when it comes to, like, you can kind of count on the fact that a company is going to want or benefit from some work in that category. So, Tony's super strong in this area, very
Yes.
strong with communication and decision making and execution. And, I can carry my water as well. So, independently, we can help owners and leadership teams to achieve some level of alignment and make progress, no question. When we follow the process through the growth drive framework, it becomes inescapable, and that's a beautiful thing. And it's
Yeah.
not something that we have to rely on showing up with our, like, we always like to show up with our A game, but we don't have to have our MRI vision, tuned on high, because the process, the assessments, whether it's Clarity 1 or Clarity 2, will very quickly reveal any dysfunction that's there, anything that's missing or they're in excess or misalignment. So just taking the senior leader and the senior leadership team through Clarity 1 starts to comb the rats out and get everything, everybody kind of aligned in a direction, just like the business model. And by the time we get done with Clarity 2, there is a consensus view of the company, what its
Yes.
mission is, what its goals are, where it's short, why it's short, and then from there what we have an opportunity to keep going. We help them assemble their strategic growth plan, and now they're part of the process, figuring out what should we do first and why, and with how are we going to go about that and with what effect, so that you literally can't. It's like putting them through a funnel, like load.
Yes. Yeah. I like it.
So like they can't help but come out the other end aligned, informed, clear, and with high levels of accountability.
Yeah. Violent agreement. It's interesting because it's not an unpleasant process. Now, there can be some friction in those meetings, right? You've experienced it, and we've all experienced it in business meetings. But the transparency and the, use the word again, clarity that everybody has about this is where the business is going. This is what the shareholders intend to create. This is where we are today. This is our ability to execute against that intent. And one of the things that we start smoking out, there's the fortunate, unfortunate, but you mentioned it. Often in businesses, there are people who have, well, Bob's been with us for 20 years. Of course, I always pick on the CFO. Sorry, CFOs. But, of course he's the CFO because he started as the bookkeeper, became the controller, and now is the CFO. But that is a title. That does not mean that Bob is a CFO. And I'm just going to continue to pick on poor Bob. But Bob, the business will outgrow some of the people that were around the kitchen table when it started. And this process can help them understand where they are. And often, people are honest, fundamentally honest, right? That's why Al Bean got along so well for so long. People will see that maybe they need to not be on the island anymore, right? Or they need to take a different role. And that is for the good. It's for the good of the business because these businesses contribute to communities, right? I won't get on that soapbox, but yeah, I love what you're saying. And you're right that consensus view that you are helping your clients gain about where the business is, who's doing what, who's not. This isn't about blame though, right? You want to talk a little bit about personal accountability? I
Sure.
was getting there, but I'd rather hear you say it. Nobody wants to hear me describe it.
So it's funny because I've got some what I like to think is some good material about accountability in my book, and
Yes.
it's something that everybody wants. Everybody wants accountability, right? From everybody else, right? So if the rest of the world were just accountable, like my life would be so much easier, right?
So much
When you
easier. Yeah.
ask people what is accountability and how do you achieve accountability, they're mystified. They don't have, like, it's this word that is intuitively is this good thing, and yeah, things will work better with it. We demand it, we insist on it, but most business leaders don't have a reliable way to generate accountability. It has a whole. I've written several blogs on it recently on the website about the challenges that accountability is fraught with and how to overcome them. It really doesn't have to be that hard. Fundamentally, like like an ideal definition of accountability is where people step up and own a situation. It's not forced. It's not imposed. It's not one throat to choke, which is one of the descriptions I've heard about accountability. And yeah, all that stuff is out there, and yeah, it does have an effect. But imposed accountability is different than accepted accountability or
Yes.
even voluntary accountability, right? Where somebody wouldn't think of not producing a result because they own it. They feel a sense of responsibility for it. So as a leader, getting from wherever you aren't to wherever you want to be with that is an art, right? There's some science to it. Part of it is this: it's human psychology. People support what they help to create. That's a big point that comes
100%.
up all the
Yes.
time. So the whole growth drive process is done with people. There's nothing in that process that's done to somebody or for somebody. Not that I've found so far. And I don't think it's just the way I'm looking at it. I think that's just the intent.
That's intentional. Heck yes. You and I agree on
With
that.
the CEO, we work with the senior leadership team to do Clarity One and help them to understand the owner's intent. The owner is in the room when he realizes that his intent is misaligned with where he's got the cast and crew of his movie. That's one of the analogies we use, is that in between step one and step two, the CEO clarity and the team alignment, we help the owner realize that they all feel like they're playing a part in some movie, right? They're so busy acting, they don't realize that not only are they directing a movie or supposed to be directing a movie, but they're producing a movie.
Yes.
Do you want that movie to be a flop, break even, or a blockbuster? Right? So I kind of know the answer to that question in advance, but once they see that, you can just see the lights come on. Then we go and talk to the leadership team and even ask the owner or the CEO before we go to the leadership team. We say, what movie do you think they think they're acting in, or what movie do you think that they think you're producing? Right? Is it a drama? Is it a comedy? What is it? Is it an adventure? The reality is that everybody's got a different reality, right? So we comb out that alignment and we help everybody understand that they're there to help produce the same blockbuster movie. That's where they realize that they're
I love the analogy. Yeah.
it fits so well. But in that process where we are asking the senior leadership team about their perspective on these 24 growth driving objectives, then if we're invited to go work with them on Clarity 2, then they get into the granular part, the deep dive analysis. Well, why is that a score of 3 or a 2 and not a 4? What's missing? What do we have? What do we not? Being part of that process is what I'm describing as people support what they help to create. Once they see what's missing from between their strategic capacity score of 45 and what a really fully functional senior leadership team would be at 85, they now want to help to fill that gap, right? So that becomes part of the strategic growth plan. They're all part of it. And when it comes around to accountability, and that accountability, should be owned by this person, chances are they've already got it. They already know it. So, kind of a long way around, but the accountability happens ideally organically by people deciding that they own this outcome.
Yes.
We put some guardrails around that. We if there's shared accountability, we make sure there's still a primary person, right?
Yep.
Because not everybody does everything by themselves. but that just knowing that people support what they help to create, that's a clue on how to develop that accountability within an organization.
Yeah, and I thoroughly, thoroughly agree with you, which when you get into the later chapters of my book, I talk about, we are creating strategy together. We are then vetting that strategy. We are announcing that strategy. All of this is done together. And strategy is just a fancy way of saying, here's our roadmap. We agree on the roadmap. We agree on the destination, and we are going to work together. Recognizing, and this is something that you get, which is why I love your analogy of changing lanes, the name of your book. They have a day job, right? And this has to all be done in the context of, or remembering that, honoring the fact that they have a day job, and that's a 40, 50, 60-hour a week job, and that this additional work, we need to get more efficient, and we're going to find the time through efficiency. We're also going to find the time through collaboration, teamwork, and a waterfall of sprints, so that the whole team isn't tied, that people are tied up individually or have primary accountability for a segment of the journey. And Tim, man, I couldn't agree with you more. Your clients are fortunate to have you. It's hard to believe we've been talking for about 40 minutes now. And thank you, Riverside, for the little clock above our heads. Tim, is there anything you'd like to discuss that we haven't touched on yet?
Just that it's a pleasure to be part of this community. It was a game changer for me, seriously.
Awesome.
I mean, what I would consider to be a veteran business advisor and entrepreneur, business
and you
owner,
are,
just learning from the whole approach, the Growth Drive approach, and the C3D course that I took, and being able to, I'm so much more capable now our team is more capable now of helping to achieve client wins. I think because we've got a system, a framework, a process that we know we can count on to be reliable, right? Whether we're having a great day or just a good day, we've got ways to do that. I really treasure the relationships that we built within the community. It's just invaluable. I wouldn't think of not continuing with it and seeing where it goes from here. It continues to evolve. I'm not sure where we are in our evolution right now, but
nor am I, man.
I think we're up and moving, and so
we are up and moving. Yeah, we're executing the mission, and you're a big part of it. I really appreciate it. Hey, Tim, would you share your web address?
Sure. It's cleargrowth.us. Cleargrowth.us. That's the address for our website.
Awesome.
One other point I would make is that
Please.
The theme of my book was all about how to lead successful change. Like if you see this thing behind me, that's my mantra, right? All progress requires change. When people think about change, one of the first things that comes to that they say is, "Ooh, change is hard." And it just doesn't have to be hard. It's hard because we don't know how to do it. Like people will do, that's another truth about human nature, is that people will do what they do well. And so if you can show people how to lead successful change, how to make it easy, that's like the nucleus. That's the core of the whole thing. There isn't a thing in the whole Growth Drive process that has to be hard if you know how to lead successful change. So
100%.
That's what we're bringing and plopping into the middle of the whole Growth Drive framework, and how I'm sure that we're going to help achieve these client wins.
Yeah, I love it. And you're right, man. Change need not be hard. We say it often. These changes are well understood. It's not that they're easy, but they are well understood. And part of what you just referenced by implication is this common language that we have, and the common language that we very quickly and intuitively teach clients, the way they look at their business, the way they understand the gears inside that business engine. And I really appreciate it, Tim. And thank you very much for the kind words. I'm so jazzed about what you're doing, where you're going. I value having you in the community. Love having your voice, and we're going to have some more fun. That's the name of the game.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for all your help and all the direction, and everybody else in the community as well.
Thank you very much, Tim. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
Very good.